Ahoy hoy, I'm Planarwalk, and recently when I was taking a look at Mr. Cheesy Hands, I was reminded of someone who goes by Right the Hand. Now, much like what Mr. Cheesy Hands says that he's going to do, Right the Hand has attempted to debunk Newton before. He claims that he's managed to debunk the laws of motion. So I do find it funny that there are two people in this world who both go by something to do with hands, who are both very confused individuals. However, Right the Hand is a flat earther, and I'm not sure if Cheesy Hands is a flat earther yet. Now recently, Right the Hand has taken to trying to debunk Euclidean geometry, which sounds a bit like Cheesy Hands, doesn't it?
So not only did I trash the principle of Euclidean mathematics,
and now that I think about it, Right the Hand also claimed that 1 + 1 = 1. Wait, are we sure that Right the Hand and Mr. Cheesy Hands aren't the same person? Anyway, what have you got for us today, Right the Hand?
Alright, so you're talking about a horizontal line, okay? So first they're going to say that a line is the shortest distance between 2 points, right? Here's your problem. A line is not a line. A line will always be points, okay?
That is incorrect. A line is a continuous connection between 2 points. If you zoom in on a line, you're not going to find a point where there's 2 points that don't connect. There's always going to be line. It's also worth mentioning that what he's talking about here is not so much a line, but a line segment, because a line, yes, it would connect those 2 points, but it would also extend beyond those 2 points infinitely.
So you don't have the connection between those 2 points. What you will then do is start making documented points along the line, okay?
That is incorrect. You don't need to make any points along the line. In fact, you can represent lines using functions. Let's say that you've got a function, and we'll keep it simple, and we'll say x = y. If you go to any location where x is the same as y, there will be a line there. It doesn't matter if you've drawn a point there or not. It doesn't matter how specific the value you have. You could go to the x and y of 12.83246,942. and there will still be line there.
Because there is no line. The line is points, right? If you're in a Euclidean 3D space, right, x, y, z, you're going to, if you say where A is, going to be A1 over here, right? It's going to have a coordinate. Now, the only way you can find the next place is with another coordinate.
What even does a next place mean? If you're driving down a 1 kilometer road, what is the next place on that road? It can't be a meter because there's a value smaller than a meter and it takes time to travel a meter, right? So maybe it's 0.1 of a meter. Well, there's space smaller than 0.1 of a meter. So you can divide space forever.
And you don't connect those coordinates with a line, right? Because where would that line exist in? Give me the coordinates of that line. It doesn't exist in a coordinate. So it's not there. The only things that have any location indicators are points. So how are you making a line when the only data input methods are points?
Well, it's quite simple, with functions. For someone that claims to be really good at maths, you obviously missed the class where they talked about functions to create lines or gradients. So that was just one of Right the Hand's videos on the subject of not understanding Euclidean geometry. But he's made more, so let's take a look at another one.
Alright, so what is the point paradox, okay? That's a point. We're gonna make it a little bit bigger to work with, alright? So just picture that point, we just expanded it, right? We zoomed in on it, okay? So this is the placeholder point that marks location, okay? Now, here's your problem. Is it here on this side? Is that the mark? Is the mark on this side? Is it here? Is it here? Is it in the center?
What? I'm sorry, but excuse me, how do you even come up with that question? Let's start with the obvious thing. A point has no size, so you cannot make it bigger. You can make a representation of a point bigger, but you cannot make the point itself bigger. Now I'll amuse Right the Hand for a second. Let's say that you could actually make a point bigger. Where do you think the location marker would go? It's going to go in the center, because whenever you draw points, you try and make the center of the point the location that it's representing.
So you've created a paradox, because this is the point that determines where something is, right? It is your most fundamental thing. Yet it itself can be broken down. So it cannot be the most fundamental thing, because it's how do you have a zero-dimensional point that can then be defined by 5 different points at least? The top, the bottom, the left, the right, and the middle.
Because a point does not have any size. Yeah, a representation of a point can have size, but the point itself does not need to have any size. Does that make sense?
You'll have to make the point infinitely small, so small in fact that it doesn't even exist. That's how small it will be to not fit into this paradox.
So just because a point doesn't have size, that doesn't mean that the point suddenly doesn't exist. Because a point is generally used to denote something like location. The location that a point refers to, that exists. How could it not exist? A good example of this is I often work with 3D graphics, and when you work with 3D graphics, you need a whole lot of points. You'll need points to define things like a triangle. Without points, you cannot create a triangle because a triangle has 3 points. These points all represent vertices so that the triangle can actually exist. How can you have a triangle without any vertices? And vertices do not have a size because most of the time you do not render vertices.
So you have to separate the definer, the point, into something else. 5 points. Just like light is supposed to be the most fundamental thing, but it needs to be separated into a point and a wave. Because you cannot express it by itself. Imperfection, contradiction.
Well, when it comes to light, light has properties of a wave, but light also has properties of a particle. We cannot represent it as one or the other, so it has to be represented as both. If it was possible to represent light as just a single thing, well, then physicists would represent it as a single thing, because that would make everything easier.
Because it's math, it's not God. Religious victory over mathematical victory. If anybody's ever played Civ 6, there's a bunch of victories. Dominion victory means you kill everybody. Cultural victory, you use culture. I'm going for the religious victory, right?
Are you sure you're going for victory? Because I feel like if you are going for victory, you're doing something wrong. I don't know all the strategies from Civ 6 because I haven't played it. All I know is that in one of the Civilization games, Gandhi might end up nuking you. But video games aren't real life. Whatever strategy you use in a video game isn't necessarily going to work in real life. You need to remember that.
And then we zoom in on that, so then we zoom in more. What happens if you zoom in more? Bam! Now you got this. So now you have the point, with the point in the middle, and that point in the middle, where's the point in the point? Right? How do you fix that paradox? You can't. You just have to make it a zero-dimensional object.
Well, a point is not a zero-dimensional object. It's 3D, it just doesn't have any size to it.
That's the paradox. Is anybody going to... where are they? Where's the people to talk about this? I don't know. I'm looking for them.
Hey, right the hand, you do realize that there are brighter people than Bev out there, right? That can probably help you understand this a lot better than Bev can. Bev isn't exactly the brightest broken bulb in the shed. My suggestion, if you actually want to understand this stuff and can't quite wrap your head around points not having size, is look into 3D graphics, especially the code or data side of it, because then you'll realize that there is no size to a point. But anyway, that is it for this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this video. Leave a comment letting me know what you'd like me to make videos about in the future. As always, a big shout out to my $20 or more patrons. Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, SHaKie, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, and Sacha Campbell. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. Right, link should be here. I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.